Hi Calculus kids, this is Dr. Callahan with AP Calculus AB for semester 1. This is for week 7, Friday. I hope you guys had a good virtual day off with Thursday. So go ahead and pause your video and take a look at the 3 questions for the warm-up log. Keep in mind that this is week 7 Friday. Next week is going to be your fall break, and the week after that is week 8, and then you have week 9. Week 9 Friday is when all of these little boxes are going to be due, and in return, I will give you guys your 300 points in a brand new warm-up log for week 10 until week 18, which is the end of the semester. So if you have any of the missing boxes between week 1 Monday to week 9 Friday, make sure you go onto the YouTube channel, and you don't have to watch the entire thing because I'm assuming you've already watched it, but you can at least get your warm up and complete it. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this question here. This is a question that was part of your video guided notes from yesterday, week 7 Thursday, and you guys had a video that actually went over this, but in case you didn't understand it or you're not quite sure, let's just go over it together because this is a very likely question they'll have on the AP test. They just love having you find the letter K. It says find K such that the second equation is the tangent line. Now remember, the tangent line deals with slope, so you probably will have to use f prime of x somehow. Now it's given to you, as I'm looking at this, that your slope is a -4, and that this is your f of x. So I could say that if I were to find the first derivative of f of x, which is f prime of x, the derivative of k, which is a constant, is just 0, and then the derivative of -x squared, you just apply the power rule, is -2x. Well, isn't slope and f prime of x exactly the same thing? Yeah, they are. So let's go ahead and set these two equations equal to each other. So then I have a -4 equals -2x. And if I divide it by -2 on both sides, x equals 2. Now that I have 2 for x, let's go ahead and find y. Because you have f of x equals k minus x. Oh, you know what? You don't want to use that. Not the first one. You wouldn't be able to use the first equation because even if you plugged in for x, you still don't know what k is. So you actually use the second equation. So the second equation is f of x, which is equal to y. And if I plugged in the 2, that would be -4 times 2 plus 7. So y is equal to -8 plus 7. Y is -1. So now I have a set of points. I have my x, and I have my y, and I also have my slope. Now, so my goal is to find k. Now that I have what y is and I know what x is, I absolutely can go back to the first equation and find k. So I know that f of x is equal to k minus x squared. F of x is the same thing as y, which is -1. K minus 2 squared, so -1 equals k minus 4. K, add the 4 on both sides, is then equal to 3. And that is my answer. From week 7 Thursday, which was a virtual day, you should have gone over the following questions. And then also the questions from your guided notes. You can pause the video and take a look at the answers and the steps. Hopefully the video notes definitely helped. I always try to go over the skill one day and then have you guys go over the same skill the second day, but maybe with a different variation. All right, take a look at today's notes. Today we're going to talk about word problems applying the power rule and finding derivatives. In addition to that, we're going to do a foldable on the rules itself. I'm going to give you guys a scatter of problems. There are 30 problems with answers on Power Rule. I'm going to have you guys go ahead and apply that. And then lastly, there is a calculus puzzle that says, why do derivatives never grow old? Your notes today is going to be on week 7, Friday. So make sure you turn over to that in your white packet. So here are some extra questions from your guided notes or from the textbook that you can practice with when it comes to Power Rule. I want you to give me 5 things you know about the derivatives using Power Rule right here. These are the 30 questions from 1 to 30, and I'll give you guys the answer to these. You could just pick a few and practice with them, and the answers actually are right here. And then you are going to do, actually, you're going to be working on, you actually cannot do this yet. Just kidding. You can't do this one. Some of them you can. Like, for example, you can probably, actually, you know what? I'm going to have you guys focus on, we could focus on this one. It says, why did Sir Isaac Newton refuse a glass of wine before sitting down to formulate the rule for differentiation? There are certain ones that you can do. You should recognize, like number 13 is a very easy one. Power rule, 1 is a power rule. You could do 3. You could do 4 if you go ahead and FOIL this twice over. You could do 5. Probably cannot do 6 yet. Probably can't do 7 yet, not 8. You could do 9. And so what I would like you to do is maybe just go through this and look at it and go, which one have I learned with the power rule? Can I actually do? Because there's some that you can't, the ones I'm highlighting in orange. And there's some you should try it and you will get stuck very soon. And it's a good segue because it's going to lead you into the next part of what we're doing, which is the quotient rule, product rule, and the chain rule. So it's important to see how you're not able to do this and where you're going to get stuck because you need more rules to help you actually clarify those problems. So yeah, do some of them. Here are my notes right here that goes over some of the rules. Don't worry about the product rule and the quotient rule specifically today. We will definitely go into them in greater detail following this, and but you can read it and get a kind of a brief introduction. This is a really important page because Unit 2, which is what we're in right now, is on derivatives. So this is kind of like a summary of all of the major theorems that you will need for this unit. And then on the right side, this is going to be for Unit 3, which is the next unit. And this will take us until December. And that is when we end with a final. And then I say, have a wonderful Christmas, and you guys go on your merry way for 3 weeks. But it's a good summary of all the basic principles and properties, formulas, concepts that you will be using in the upcoming 2 units. So if you're in class, I have a folder that looks like this. I will be cutting along these lines right here for you. And then you will be answering the following questions. When it comes to constant rule, power rule, constant multiple, sum and difference rules, derivative of sine and cosine. And this is actually a new one because we haven't gone over anything with sine and cosine yet. So with that said, I'm going to have you guys go ahead and pause the video. If you're at home, you could just go ahead and do these questions right here. Give it a try. Okay, so take a look over here. Here are your examples and your answers to them. And the big one that you need to know is that the derivative of cosine x is negative sine x, and the derivative of sine x is cosine x. Those are the only 2 new things that you really need to know. And you will need to know these 2 in order to solve for the problem here. So go ahead and pause the video and take a look at your answers. I feel like the first three are fairly simple. We have gone over fractions, radicals, how to get rid of them. So I think they're pretty self-explanatory for the most part. And then you have a question that looks like this, which is not super duper difficult, but it's definitely one of the more challenging ones because it does kind of bring all three things together. So you're trying to find the derivative of this trinomial. And if you look at it, f of x equals 2x to the 7th power. You don't want to have the radical right there. You know the radical is to the 1/2. So if you bring it up from a fraction, you have an x at -1/2 minus 8. Now that you have prepared this f of x to find the derivative, you can now move forward to find it. Bring down your 7, you should have 14x to the 6th power, minus, bring down the 1/2. If you have a -1/2, oh no, dang it. Okay, hold on, let's try that again. And all right, f of x is equal to 2x to the 7th minus 5x to the -1/2 minus 8. Okay, now we're caught up. If I bring the -1/2 down, I have a -5 times a -1/2, which gives me a positive 5/2. X, and then the minus a 2/2, which is a -3/2. And the derivative of just a constant is always going to be 0. So if I rewrite this, f prime of x equals 14x to the 6th power plus 5, 2 is on the bottom. If you write this into a radical, x to the 3rd power squared, and this will be your answer. And that is it. Okay, so then let's take a look at this one. This one's fairly straightforward, except you have the derivative of a sine. So you're first going to take the x, bring it up. So you have x at -1 power. -1 times a 1 is a -1. X, -1 minus 1 is a -2. So if I were to rewrite this, make a mistake at the bottom, x at -2, you bring it down to the denominator, so x squared is now positive. Derivative of a sine is going to be a cosine, so it's just -3 cosine x, and that's all that you do. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at these 4 questions. The first one is f prime of x. Derivative of 3x cubed is just 3x squared minus 1/2. The derivative of cosine is a negative sign, so that becomes a positive sine x, and that is your answer. Number 2 we just did. Number 3, h prime of x is equal to, the derivative sign is cosine, so just 2 cosine x minus, because the derivative of cosine is negative sign, so -3 sine x. Moving on to number 4, f prime of x is equal to, you don't want to have a square root of x, so I'm going to do a 1/2. If I bring the 1/2 down, it's 4 times 1/2, which is going to be a 2, x to the -1/2, so you're going to bring it down to x to the positive 1/2. Plus 3, derivative of cosine is a negative sign, so it's not going to be a plus 3, it's going to be a -3 sine x, and that is your answer. All right, so now what I'm gonna have you guys do is go ahead and practice with these 30 questions. This is actually in your guided notes as well. Alongside with that, you also have the answers, which are given to you. So after each problem, you can just go ahead and check your answers to make sure that you have it correct. If you need some additional practice, you also have this from the textbook. And then whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and get started with the algebra puzzle of why did Sir Isaac Newton refuse a glass of wine before sitting down to formulate the rules for differentiation. All right, you guys, I hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.